Hey, welcome back to the BVB podcast. My name's Jacob, joined as always by Carver. How's it going, man? How are you doing? Before we get into everything, how are you doing in general?
I'm in full coat mode, but I'm hanging in there. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm good. I'm like so obviously I'm sad that Dortmund's over. I'm sad that European football in general is over. Like this is never a fun time of the year. We just got a little extra out of it, which was great. But yeah, it's a sad time of the year for sure. Um, Already I'm just excited for I'm just excited for the next season and for things to get rolling again. But and I mean we'll of course we'll have episodes throughout the summer to talk about Dortmund and all the movements and everything that's happening. But right now, we do need to talk about the Champions League final and the amazing run that Dortmund had in that. Let me specify in the Champions League specifically. We got to recap the match, losing 2-0 to Real Madrid. Before we, I mean, oh, I was about to go into one thing, but let me start here. We did do a giveaway last week. If you are a part of our Discord, you could be entered to win some hats from Official League. If you don't know what they are, they don't just make Dortmund hats. They make hats for a lot of different sports teams, but they're really cool. A lot of different styles, and they are one of the coolest things about Official League is like we are American, obviously. They're an American-based company, and one of the few manufacturers or like merch manufacturers who have Dortmund's official license. So they are officially licensed Dortmund gear and exclusive hats that you can get from Official League. And they graciously reached out to us to give away. We've done a giveaway with them before, but to celebrate the Champions League final, they reached out again to do another hat giveaway. So shout out to Official League. And I do have everyone who entered. So before we get started, let's pick a winner for these Official League hats. Hopefully this generator thing works. Oh my gosh, this is a 10-second countdown. So this is way, I don't know, it's going to take this long. Do I edit this out? Do I just keep rambling until we get a winner?
I would edit it out.
Congrats, Devin. Devin, I don't know Devin's at. I don't know Devin's last name, but we'll keep it as Devin, and we will find him in our Discord. And we probably, Devin, if you're hearing this before you turned on your Discord notifications, make sure you check for a DM. But congrats to Devin. Thanks to everyone who first of all, is a part of our Discord, and everyone who entered for this contest. If you're not a part of our Discord and you want to be in the loop with maybe some special giveaways, or if you just want to talk with us more and talk with other Dortmund fans, this is the big Discord plug. Last episode, Carver gave me shit because I did it like 5 times throughout the episode. Doing it right now, and maybe I'll say it again at the end. But you can join our Discord in the link. You can find the link in the description of this episode. Also, if you want to check out Official League to see what these hats look like, maybe get some for yourself, you can check out the website with that link in the description of this episode. Now that that's done, I don't remember what else I was going to get into, but Champions League. First, Carver, though, I want to ask you specifically about your experience, if you can enlighten everyone what you did in your experience of the day overall. It was a lot more exciting than my watching experience. I still had an exciting day, but it wasn't as exciting as for watching the Champions League specifically.
Just was at the Amsterdam Tavern with a lot of people, the Dortmund fan group, some new faces, of course, a lot of familiar faces as well, some really good friends of ours. I could name them all, but I don't want to spend time just going down the list. But everyone is obviously very nice. There's just a great time hanging out with everyone. We're a very energetic group, too. We were having a bunch of chants going the whole time. The Madrid group, the entire game, were pretty much silent until we gave away a goal. But other than that, they were completely silent. So it was fun to, just have a good, energetic time and just the people around us. Unfortunately, it wasn't a fairy tale ending, so it was pretty sad at the end, but it was nice to have that moment with other people there that are also very passionate and invested into the club. So
yeah, and the turn, I think someone mentioned it in our last week, maybe it was in our Discord, but the amount of media and publicity Dortmund's getting with obviously this Champions League run. And I think this is this you can kind of attribute to a lot of Dortmund fans getting turned on to Dortmund the last time they had a Champions League run too, right? Or the last time they made a final, and the other times they've had really good performances in Europe. And I've said it many times, but something that helped me really become a Dortmund fan was seeing the other Dortmund fans and their supporters. And that's something that stood out so much too, building up to this match. There's a lot of Dortmund or publicity on Dortmund and this kind of Cinderella story, fairy tale story, whatever, however they want to, underdog story. Like I know a lot of people were rooting for Dortmund because of that aspect, just in general. But I think one thing that might suck people in is like seeing the atmosphere and seeing the Dortmund fans, whether you're at Amsterdam Tavern or if you're in London. And I love seeing the content from not only the Dortmund official pages, but all these soccer or sports accounts sharing just the complete uh, storming of London from the Dortmund fans, which was so cool to see.
Tifos were incredible too. The before and also coming out of halftime too. That tifo was fucking awesome as well. You have all the pyrotechnics. I mean, that could be controversial for some people, of course, but just the Aufgast Dortmund's Kampfund and Ziegen. I love all the tifo again, just the passion from all the supporters base. I cannot praise them enough, week in and week out for every single game. But just this occasion in particular too it's just really really cool.
Yeah, I mean that plays into the match too. Um, Watching the broadcast, like you just hear the Dortmund fans nonstop. And to any, if there are new Dortmund fans who are listening to us for maybe the first time, like that's it. That's what you get. Like that's not just them showing up for for the Champions League final. That's pretty much Dortmund fans week in week out, whether on the road or playing at home. Like that's just what you get, and that's part of the reason, like I said, why I love this club so much. Is just the support that they have, even if they don't always step up and and are worth the support. Like the fans are always there, no matter what, which is awesome. But like I said, it does play into the match. I think it did definitely helped in the first half. Like you could just hear him getting so loud, it like putting a lot of pressure on Real Madrid. Yeah, and unfortunately, it didn't work in the end. But I think that was definitely a factor in the first half.
Yeah, the team did show up too, which is pretty crazy. I mean, this is pretty par for the course for the European campaign that we've had this year, and just in comparison to our domestic campaign. But the team really just showed so much heart, bravery. They had a clear game plan in mind, and it worked in its execution, which just made everything, just from the actual performance on the pitch from the team, also the supporting base as well. It made all that just all the more heartbreaking, given that we just couldn't finish off our chances, which is just really unfortunate. You could argue that Dortmund were very unlucky given the chances that they did create in the first half, but winning football games, you just have to put away the chances. And from the likes of Adeyemi being a one-on-one with the keeper, he's a sporadic finisher at times. He can get around the keeper in those moments. We've seen it against Chelsea, but you could also argue it's a little bit too predictable at times because he's just going to go over to that favored left foot. But that was not in a vacuum. There were, we had a registered 8 shots and an XG of 1.88 in that first half alone. So, and Madrid also just started really poor for the most part in that first half, arguably even just the first hour of this game. So just another year, 2 years in a row of just really massive heartbreak. I would argue last year was worse just because we were not the underdogs. We were at home. There was absolutely no excuse that we should not have been lifting the Meisterschale that year. But this year it also just sucks as well, just given the title was right there, and we could not bring it home.
Yeah, this felt very much even going into the match, and there's a lot of reasons behind it. We kind of touched on it, like the underdog, the fairy tale, the whatever. Like that's great. Like, but I also want to appreciate like the team we saw in the Champions League was a completely different beast than what we saw in the Bundesliga. So yes, we were the underdog. Yes, it was kind of Cinderella story, but given like our performances throughout the entire Champions League, like I kind of write that Cinderella story, quote unquote, like off. Like I think we fully deserve to be here. Like the results we were able to pull out, our performance in the group of death, I would argue maybe holistically not one of the best clubs in Europe, but definitely one of the best club in this competition, which is why we made it this far.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to throw that out there. But yeah, it is like disappointing. And even saying that, like you said, losing last year was definitely more disappointing. Like I wasn't as sad. It was more like I'm happy with the performance overall, especially first half. Like I'm happy we got this far. I'm happy we had a decent showing. Obviously, it's upsetting we weren't able to get a goal. We weren't able to maybe push them a little harder for the full 90 minutes. But yeah, I don't know. coming off, I guess I'm more like I'm happy we were here. I'm happy we made a good run.
Just very proud in the team too that again that we had an actual clear game plan and we executed it well. There were so many times this season in the Bundesliga campaign specifically that we were very disjointed, clueless at times, unable to break teams down that are in like the bottom six of the league. I mean, all over the table, no matter the quality, we had struggled against so many oppositions in the Bundesliga. But this is, against this Madrid side, albeit they lost Schwamini, who was, a staple in their midfield. Now they're going to have Mbappe next year. That team's going to be illegal. But they still have an overwhelming amount of quality, and we controlled the flow of the game way better than I could have. Honestly, even hoped. I was so surprised that Madrid looked so flat at times. I mean, Rodrigo and Jude Bellingham both had the fewest touches among outfield players, which is really shocking. Again, it just shows that we were, people could argue that Jude Bellingham has been pretty quiet in these knockout stage games. I don't watch much Madrid, but I do think this Dortmund side did a good job of keeping him out of the game, as well as Rodrigo. I mean, Vinicius, really the whole Madrid side. They were just unable to break down our blocks in that first half. And they also didn't press like I thought they would. I said in the preview that they were going to go man-to-man, high pressing, that front line of, attackers like a Vinicius, Rodrigo, whoever is going to provide that high press and put us under pressure so we couldn't be able to build out of the back. But no, they let us play a bit more. It made us just, less difficult for Dortmund to play around or in behind. And you have the two dual eights in Savitzer and Julian Brandt supporting Füllkrug on both sides of the ball, help him out with counters, or just play Sancho and Adeyemi into space or out wide, in behind. There was a few different options that we had going about it again on both sides of the ball. It's just, again, unfortunate that we couldn't put away these chances.
Yeah. And we should go back and although it was exactly what we all expected,
Yeah.
as a normal match review, let's do the lineup. Kobel in goal. Obviously, we had Matson left back, Schlotterbeck and Hummels, center back partners, Rierson, then Chan and Sabitzer, with Sancho, Brandt, Adeyemi, and Füllkrug. I kind of read that as a 4-2-3-1, but obviously that kind of shifted around and moved a little
Right.
bit. From our performance overall, or I guess not overall, because specifically, like who was it like a difference maker for you, and who like really stood out to help control this first half?
I thought it was such a collective effort. We talked about Rierson being a monster. I thought he did a really good job of keeping Madrid swingers quiet.
There was, I think, pretty early on, he got cooked a couple times. There was a crazy nutmeg, like backheel nutmeg.
Yeah, I can't remember what minute that was in, honestly. I can't remember if that was later in the game or not. But either way,
I remember because last week I was and I even made a clip and put it on our socials, and I was like, I'm hyped for this performance. And then he got cooked a couple times. I was like, oh shoot, oh this doesn't come back to bite me. I think overall he was fine. But yeah, what are you gonna do? Like if you're going up against Vinicius, you're definitely gonna get nutmeg burnt a couple times. But I still think like overall nothing like led to a goal. Yeah, I think overall he still did very well.
pretty solid defensively for the most part. You're going against one of the best attackers in the world. Hummels also had a few good stops as well. He had the moment where no one was putting any pressure on him. He just kind of wandered into midfield and played a ridiculous ball in behind for Adeyemi to, a ball that he should have put away. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. But yeah, I would argue those two. Schlotterbeck did pretty well as well. I don't know. I thought it was just such a good collective effort. I can't really think of a pinpoint a specific individual performance, really.
Yeah, I like, yeah. I said holistically, and then I said narrow it down individually. But also, I don't know if I can do the same. Brandt, I'm always going to show love for Brandt. And I think he showed up and played his role well. Adeyemi too. Like I know he should have done better to finish the chances he had, but still to get in those positions, like that's what we wanted, right? Like unfortunate on the day, and like this out of all the games, this is the one where you really need to take your chance. But still, like we were doing the right things. It was just a bit unfortunate. Later on, obviously we get the goal to get one back, and it's called offsides. I think we hit the post too. Just unfortunately not our day. Like it's sad that it comes down to that. Like because overall I'm pretty happy. I was worried like at half. I think I said to one of my coworkers I was with, I was like this. I was like, it's me still being like kind of negative on Terzic, but I was like, the first half was so good. We should be up. Ancelotti's such a good coach. He might make adjustments at the half, and I don't think we're going to make adjustments because I think we're just going to be like, cool, let's do it again. But that's not you. You can't always you can't rely on that when you know someone is going to make adjustments, and that's what I was worried about, that we wouldn't make adjustments and try to keep doing the same things.
Yeah, Ancelotti raised his eyebrow when we knew the game was over at that point. I mean, everyone was anticipating at halftime that, of course, Madrid were going to make some tweaks. That the fact that Dortmund did not put these chances away in the first half, it's unlikely that we're going to generate the same amount of chances in the second. And that's exactly what happened. I think pretty much everyone at this point was anticipating after the first 45 minutes that Madrid would, continue to grow in confidence and just into the game in general and put us on our, the backside of our feet and just kind of make us be our own worst enemy, which is kind of eventually what happened. I mean, you have Carvajal, very unlikely score, but getting on the end of a corner here. I think he had even a corner after that as well. No one was really picking him up. And right after that first goal from Madrid, we just completely deflated, which is, it sucks. And we've had these instances kind of happening off and on during the regular, the campaign throughout the season. And that has been a reoccurring issue. But, it's tough because I know it's so easy to say here as a supporter and you're just watching the game. You're like, why don't you guys just keep going and pick it up? It's after the hour mark or whenever that first goal came in. But at the same time, you're giving all you have and just nothing's going for you for these, just for the goals not, actually ending up in the back of the net. And then you get a gut punch like that off a corner. It's really hard to pick yourselves back up. And you have someone like Ian Matson, who's never been in this sort of competition level, let alone this level and this part of the competition, and he had just a really unfortunate mistake. It doesn't negate or undermine anything that he's offered this team since he's arrived on loan. I think still he should be priority number one. I still stand by that, but it's just, again, another really unfortunate circumstance. You could argue, again, this is in hindsight, but I think some, including myself, did see some minor, I don't know if I'd call them errors, but I would have just a difference in opinion of just the changes that we could have made. Adeyemi came off in the second half in like the 72nd minute. Terzic brought on Marco Reus. A like-for-like sub, that's kind of the problem I had with it. And this ties into one of the questions from BVB Cincy here. He's just asking, was taking off Adeyemi for Reus the right call? I don't think taking off Adeyemi was necessarily the bad call because he looked very gassed. Of course, he missed that big chance too. You could give another very talented attacker that can be a difference maker, a game changer, one like Malen, who's objectively a better finisher, comparing the two. But bringing on Reus for Adeyemi as a like-for-like sub, I don't think that's necessarily the move. You lose so much pace, and that's where you're hurting Madrid the most, whether it was just out wide, stretching them, playing around them, or again, just playing in behind as well. And when you don't have that option anymore from Adeyemi and Adeyemi alone, as good as Sancho is, he doesn't really touch the pace that Adeyemi has. And you don't bring on someone like Malen, you're going to lose a lot of that pace. And that's kind of what happened. And we already, again, had that gut punch. It was hard for us to pick ourselves back up. And I wish we could have maybe had a sub a little bit, maybe 5 minutes earlier. And then again, just have like for like with the pace and just kind of try to rejuvenate ourselves and get back to the game. And that wasn't the case.
Man, Carver, last week I asked you specifics on the subs, and you're like, I can't talk about it now. And now Carver's talking about the subs. And
well, I was saying it's gonna depend, but I did say you could bring on Malen, you could bring on JBG as game changers. Yeah,
I like Reus coming on as the fact that it's Reus brings that leadership. But as you mentioned, I don't like it for Adeyemi. That was I completely get, and like we all wanted it. We knew he was going to come on, this being his last one, this being the Champions League final. Like we knew it was going to happen, but yeah, in that moment, I don't think Adeyemi was the right choice. I don't know if Adeyemi was maybe he was completely gassed and gone. But yeah, Reus isn't coming on to play that role. And you, as you mentioned, Sancho, bring Malen. We did see Malen later when we kind of threw everyone out there, but yeah, didn't quite work out. Didn't quite get the same output or the same kind of output. And I did appreciate back on the Matson giveaway at this point, Reus was on, and I know people probably talked about it on social media or on Discord too, but so good on Reus to go over and give Matson a little head pat and hey, it's okay. It's one of the worst things that could happen in this match, but good on Reus, good on the captain to go over to go over him and say that and kind of give him the appreciation and let him know it's okay. And to just like shake it off and move on and try to keep fighting through. But on that too, I just want to shout out the with the Matson, the Champions League team of the season. Matson made it. Kobel confirmed best keeper in Europe. Kobel confirmed. Write it
According
down.
to ESPN, he didn't even make top 10. I doubt many people saw that article
ESPN
because
doesn't
ESPN is
even
trash.
the ESPN doesn't even show soccer highlights on
But
anything,
yeah,
so they can shove
if
it.
you're down and you want a good laugh, take a look at that list because it is nothing short of comical. They had Herdetsky at number 9, and Kobel didn't make the list at all. I think
Because they
genuinely, I
don't
think
know.
he's top 3, if not number 1 in the world, and they don't even think he's number 10. Just funny. It's just funny how ESPN just doesn't watch football. I had to throw that in there. But go on. Yeah, there were a few other people who made that team
Well,
of the season.
I mean, it just ESPN. I'll just say trash. We're never gonna get picked up by them, right? So we're fine. They're trash.
I hope not.
They're trash. Top 10. What? Who? Sports Center top 10. Anyways, Kobel, Sabitzer. Oh shoot, who was it? Hummels. I wrote Kobel twice on my notes, but it was Hummels. Kobel deserves it twice. Damn it. But I did want to go back to Matson and show that appreciation. One, he didn't even play half this competition. It makes sense that it's going to be players from teams in this later part of this competition, right? Because they're the ones who go the farthest. But the fact that Matson wasn't part of the group stage, the fact that we've said it before, Matson played in the English Championship last year and then wasn't cracking it at Chelsea. Again, I don't think that was his fault. It's other people's making these decisions. But then comes to Dortmund, is just flying from the start, and then makes the team of the season for the Champions League. Freaking give Chelsea the money, get him here permanently. Incredible by him.
Yeah, there's just no other left back that I could think of that even touches what he brings to this team. I don't need to say it again because I said it plenty of times before in the past few months. But yeah, he should be our number one priority this window, and then we can move forward after that with just some other much needed investment in other departments. But yeah, I know. Yeah, I know he had that blunder in the final here, but he has been so vital to this team in so many aspects on both sides of the ball this season. It's just it's been a breath of fresh air to say the least, and not just with just how the season was going, but just as a fullback, right? We've been needing a fullback for so goddamn long now, and Rierson has also been that. It's just on the opposite side of that. So we have a left back now that's not only competent, but he fits our system so well, and I'm very excited hopefully to have him full time here at Dortmund going forward.
Yeah, I quickly mentioned it before too, but late on we kind of throw balls to the wall. We throw everybody on. It feels like, which is nice that like we do have all these other attacking options to bring on. And just a bit unlucky still. Like we get the one back, we think, and then it's I think correctly called offsides. It was tight, but yeah, definitely correctly called offsides. And then I think we hit the post a little bit later too. I mean, your thoughts on the rest of the match? I appreciate that we. I mean, that's what we do. We go down and then we start fighting really hard. But I think I'd argue that we fought for most of this match. Even with the slight deflation after letting the first goal in, we were able to kind of fight and try to get back into it. Just couldn't quite pull it out.
Yeah, and again, it's just really difficult whenever you're down 2-0 and you keep stretching further and further wide, you get higher up the field, and then Madrid will really starting to be able to play that game the last quarter hour. So, the odds were already against you in just terms of the scoreboard, but now Madrid are really getting into their groove and their stride, and it's just almost an impossible task at that point. To get 2 goals, to climb all the way back against Madrid is yet another Herculean task. I don't think this team was necessarily ready for, especially, again, with just so many of them being gassed and us taking out so much pace at that end, just at least momentarily for that last quarter hour. So, yeah, just really unfortunate all around. You can only just applaud that the first hour, a little over an hour, was really admirable. And you got to, I think it shouldn't be also understated that the whole world got to see who Dortmund was again. I think is really cool. It's a consolation prize, I guess, if you want to call it that, but I think is also really cool, really important for the world to see just how energetic this team is, just how brave we can be, how fun we can be to watch. So I think that was really important for us to just be on the world stage again and show everyone who we are and who we can be.
Yeah, and that's what gets me so excited for next season. Like, obviously, I'm excited because I just love watching. I can't say I love watching Dortmund week in, week out. I love watching football week in,
maybe
week
not
out.
under Terzic.
But that's why I'm excited, because I think something like this, obviously last year we were hoping for like a really good bounce back after the devastating into the season last year. Didn't quite get that. But I think this is on another scale, right? This gives us more of a platform to, one, like literally financially, like the money we get from this tournament gives us a bit more of an edge to maybe spend what we need to get more players in, but also just that recognition and the amount of eyes on us, like how do we bounce back now, and all the people who've been tuning in, there's a lot more eyes on us, and so it's kind of like this added pressure. But we can't just we can't just start performing in the Bundesliga, like start next season how we played throughout this season, and like I said, that's why this is a really exciting platform to just move on to next year and see what we can do. And I'm hoping the club has the ambition and the means to take the steps we need to keep growing and try to make another run similar to this.
Yeah, and we're seeing reports already about Terzic potentially getting an extension as manager, even though his contract does not run out this winter, or even I think even maybe next season. I could be wrong on that. So I think that's a little premature of a decision to make. Of course, I think he does personally deserve to have another shot. As much as I have so many disagreements with him fundamentally about how we approach week in and week out long term as a team. One-off games like these knockout games, I think Terzic has a lot of benefits, and he can be pretty smart with his decision making. But just long term, week in week out against these Bundesliga sides, that's when we're starting to see a lot of the weaknesses in him as a coach. So after the first however many games into this next season, if we're still seeing the same reoccurring issues, and he does have an extension, it could potentially be an expensive mistake for us to offload him, given he just signs another contract. So I'm hoping, when you're going back to what you're saying, to making these right decisions, hitting the ground running, not having any sort of close to a summer that we did last year, and doing things right, we can hopefully just set ourselves up for more success and just see where we're at here in the fall, and then talk about an extension for Terzic.
Yeah, and maybe this is a good segue to get in some of the questions we had.
Yeah.
There was one on, because there was one about kind of this specifically, and just we'll talk about it a little, talk about it a little more in depth coming up real soon. But I want to do questions first about we're gonna have a full season review episode where we're gonna get your guys' input. So we'll definitely cover this more, but specifically on coaching, just to hit it quickly. Someone asked Shaheen and Bender, we think they're going to be around next year. I know there was the debate when they first came in. It was talked about Shaheen's maybe going to take over the head coaching role. Terzic
Yeah.
might step aside. And that was all kind of just speculation. That's kind of what I think at the time we were hoping for. But I think we mentioned it before too. I do think what we've seen in the second half of the season is kind of them, like this coaching department, those three together plus the other people working with him have been able to figure things out. I think Shaheen and Bender bring a little more of the tactics that Terzic has needed help on, and as a unit, we've seen things better, specifically with the Champions League run, right? That's where you've seen it. We still had some pretty abysmal performances even late on in the Bundesliga, so you can't say it's been perfect, but I do think it has gotten better than where we were before with them coming in. And if they move forward, if Terzic is extending, like I hope it's with this group of that trio, I guess.
Yeah, I don't even think it was necessarily just speculation of Shaheen taking over in the winter, given that Terzic just recently, within the last few weeks, was talking to the Dortmund media saying he was not sure if he was going to come to work the next day and even have a job during the winter break. He was still unsure, just given the really poor, consistent performances and results that we had in domestically for this season. Yeah, I don't. Shaheen is. I'm going to say. I think him and Bender both are going to be staying here. I think Shaheen can still, just grow as a coach and maybe potentially have a bigger role here in the future. I don't want to say near future, but I think they all, again, like you said, work well together. It helps a lot that both Bender and Shaheen played in roles that we are really needing help with right now, and it comes to number sixes at times and eight, primarily to help and build up play. So that has not by a lot, but you have seen some improvements here and there and some tweaks. So hoping to see more of that to come with investments in that department. Of course, now you have some preseason to try things out. We'll see. But I have a question here, unless you had anything else on that subject.
Well, I got to shout out Christy, who that question came from.
Of course, Chris.
Since I remember the questions and I remember comments from Twitter, and I just never, and that was in our Discord, but I never remember who did it. So I want to give the proper shout out.
Yes, shout out to Chris. He was at the Damn Saturday. Always a good friend. Got one from another friend here from the St. Louis fan group, Chaz.
You're
asking,
just shouting out St. Louis people, Carver?
I'm going down the list. I'm going down
Okay.
the list of questions. I shouted out BVB Cincinnati as well. Chaz was wondering, who do you think is going to be the first to be sold on the list of potential departures this summer? And I haven't seen personally, or just, I don't know if you've seen anything else otherwise about who is going to be out the door. Here and there, I've seen reports of Haller, just him being unhappy. I can imagine him being one of the first to go. I don't think that's necessarily something I agree with, although I don't know, I don't have the insight of just the inner workings of the club. I don't know exactly what's going on there in terms of his health and fitness. I'm not sure if he just maybe can still play at a professional level, but just not at this sort of level. That's what I'm imagining the circumstances. But if not, I think we should be keeping him because we have two really quality strikers in Füllkrug and Haller. I mean, you could also obviously argue Moukoko as well and use that money in other departments. I don't think a striker should be in our top three priorities, to be honest with you. I don't think that's more of a fourth or fifth thing that we should be looking at this summer, but we look like we're going to be steamrolling ahead with Guirassy. So we'll have to wait and see for that going forward. But I think Haller could be at the top of the list. I think Moukoko can be at the top of that list. I still don't know what the future is going to hold for Benzabaini as well, given if we're going to sign Maatsen on a full year contract. Those are going to be my top three for departures, at least, that are not going to be out of a contract this year.
Yeah, for me, it's a tough one because one, we have so many players exiting anyways who just come to the end of a contract, and we already need more bodies. Like you could argue we need, not argue, it's fact. Like we need more center backs. We need some full backs. So it's like who goes, like no one in those roles need to clear out. I think there's maybe an argument. Benzabaini, yes. Like I think you can argue he's one of them. I don't know what the future holds for Özcan. Just because I don't see Mecha going anywhere. The money they spent,
unfortunately,
they're not going to sell him. So he's here. I think there's already been links with some other central midfield players, and the role Özcan's had this year, like I just don't know if it's worth it, like keeping him on, like when you can possibly bring in someone else and maybe still get, like I think you could sell him to another Bundesliga club and get some kind of fee because he could go somewhere else and probably be a starter, but he's just not in our system. So he's one. I don't know if I don't even think I've seen reports of him going anywhere, but that's just off the top of my head where I think you could possibly move. Obviously, there's been the talk about Haller. So
Sula,
I could see
too, I forgot to mention as well. He looks like he's going to be, well, I'm not going to say going to be, but there's reports that he likely could also be on the way out as well. Just he's not happy with his role. I don't think Dortmund are happy with his performances, his fitness levels. Sometimes this is just all from what I've read. This is not my personal opinion, but his attitude at times too. I don't know how much validity there are in some of these reports, but you are seeing him not get too many minutes. Of course, it's hard to break into arguably the best center back partnership in Europe, definitely in Germany. But still, Sula being a starter for Bayern Munich for years before this, you would expect him to, have a bit more of a stature about him and try to fight his way in here. But it looks like he's just maybe not that happy and wanting to change his scenery. So I'll add him to that list that I had already and just say those are probably the top four that you could be potentially seeing that we could offload to get some money off of. But again, we'll have to wait for these next few weeks. I think we'll start to see a lot more reports roll out here.
I've got one more to add who I just thought of, and not because this isn't a player, maybe because I've been more thinking like who do I want to see go, or who is like I kind of see as surplus people we don't really need. But someone who I would love to stay is Malen. I know he kind of splits the fan base a bit. And even us too. Like I haven't been a fan of Malen I think last year was highly critical of him.
Oh yeah, I've had my fair share of criticism. Anyone that wants to bore themselves to death and scroll back like a year and a half, I spent so long just shitting on him
But
under the Rosa days.
I still think there's a player there. But I also know there were reports, I think it was maybe closer to the winter in January, more reports of teams being interested in him. I feel like Liverpool might have been one.
Right,
I'm not too sure, but he's one where I think one, there's value there, and we could probably sell him and make money
definitely,
back. And not
definitely.
that I want to see him go, but he's one who maybe is more a little realistic. If someone wants to come in for him, someone from Premier League, he might be out. And I know there were reports of him being unhappy. I feel like I've seen that less in the last few months. But yeah, I would throw him on the list too.
Right, you can keep going, yeah, but those are probably a good core group of people that I would put up there for the answer to that question here. Went through a lot of these questions already. Were kind of together on Twitter that we answered already. Last question here. Do you think Dortmund will be able to sign Jadon Sancho from United? This is from Celtic Frosty Nash on our Discord. Signing Sancho on a permanent deal from United, I think that's according to reports, it seems like it's going to be pretty unlikely. United are very dumb business-wise, but I don't think they're that dumb to just let him go on such a low fee, at least for the fee that we've been trying to ask for, again, according to reports this spring. So I think what's most likely going to happen is us try to pursue another year-long deal for Sancho and then go about it the following year. But we'll, again, have to wait and see. I'm not trying to be vague, and I know there's not too much more I can give on that, but we'll have to just wait and see how the clubs negotiate. I know United are going to try to get something from him, or maybe Sancho maybe wants to have another go in England. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem too likely. He seems very, a lot more happy here, but we'll just have to see how Dortmund are going to enter this negotiation process.
Do you know how long of a contract he has at Man U?
I think it runs until 2026, if I'm not wrong.
Okay. Yeah. I think there's no chance of signing him to a permanent deal this summer. Yeah, best case scenario, and it's been mentioned a lot, but the loan, if we can lock in a loan, because I think even if he goes back, like even if Man United want him back, I don't think he's gonna, like you said, he seems so happy in Dortmund, and I just don't think I don't know, you're not gonna get him to it just doesn't seem like a thing he wants to do. So it's something him and probably his agent will be pushing for, to lock in another year loan. Unless Man United get a offer for him. Like, I don't think that's going to be from us, though. I think there's no chance of us getting him this summer. Yeah. I think the most likely thing is if Man U, one, we get him for a loan again. Two is, and maybe he plays out that next year, things go well, and then Man United can sell him to hopefully us, but maybe someone else. Maybe someone else will come in for him, another club that he'd be happy going to. I don't know where that would be. It's sad to think, but I don't know. Yeah, I just don't see him going back to Man United and actually playing. Right. It doesn't line up. Yeah.
Yeah, I got nothing to add to that. Did you have any more questions that you saw?
No, because I know a lot of them are kind of coaching and transfer related, kind of covering the same thing. So hopefully we covered what you wanted. Also, just know, like, we will cover a lot of this stuff more in depth probably just as we learn stuff through the summer, where I can't say that I'm like hot on the transfer news and gossip. So like, I can't just speculate on a bunch of transfers. Like, I haven't seen a ton of info, but we will talk more like throughout the summer when stuff happens. We'll be talking about it. And then obviously in the season review, we'll probably talk a little more about coaching and decisions, what we want to see, and roster breakdown and everything, and what we want to see, or who we want to see coming into the summer. And a lot of that, will have to do with you guys listening, because we are going to do, I'll talk about the end of year survey that we'll cover next week, but we need your guys' help and need your input on it.
Yeah, if you've made it this far, thank you, first of all, for staying with us and listening. Please, feel free to get involved with this season review survey. We've done this a few years in a row now. Just get your input. We have accolades. We have some just fun questions about the past, going forward, and just what you want to see from the club of Borussia Dortmund. We've had some good responses already. If you have taken it, feel free to share it around with anyone that is in your fan club in the area. We'll just try to get as many responses as possible so we can go over some of these results. Survey's open now. The link will be, well, it's definitely on all of our socials that you might have seen or have not have seen. And then also it'll likely be in the description of this episode as well. And the survey will close on June 11th. So next week at 12 p.m. Central Time. So you got plenty of time. It takes maybe 3 or 4 minutes. It's very, very quick. Pretty casual as well. But yeah, feel free to get involved and let us know your thoughts, and we'll go over the results for the season review episode very soon.
Yeah, it's always fun to go through those things. Last year we had Manuel Veth joined us for that big season review episode, which was really cool. But yeah, I mean, I think the coolest part is just getting everyone else's feedback. Like,
right.
That's why we started the Discord, kind of to be able to talk with you guys. We don't ever want this to be just a one-way conversation, or I guess just a Carver and I conversation. Like, it's better when you guys are involved. So please fill out that survey. Here's my second plug for the Discord, which the survey is also linked in our Discord. So if you want to join our Discord, talk with us more, talk with other Dortmund fans, especially, I've been thinking about this, Carver. It's going to be weird over the summer because, one of the best things about the Discord is chatting on match day specifically, chatting through the lineup, talking about, it's basically a big group chat if you're not on Discord, talking about the match as it's happening. Yeah, and I guess there'll be a lot of summer speculations and all that hot gossip and hot news will be dropping in the Discord, but it might be a little quieter sometimes, but maybe you want to join and start causing some shit, turn up, sending some memes. Yeah. I don't know. You can join our Discord, find the link for that.
We need some more shit posters in there for sure.
Not fighting, no one fighting, just like some fun shit posting. What did you, I feel like Carver came in, oh no, I remember now. I was like, I feel like Carver came in with some shithousery, and it was against me, so I'm not going to get it. Yeah. No, but it's been good. It's been a good year, kind of. It was a good year at the end. Part of it was good.
Another lead up to another heartbreaking end, but this is why we do the show. Another season. Again, thank you all for so much for engaging with the show. It continues to just all, not me, but also Jake, just with the engagement of everyone around the world, and just everyone coming together to support the team that we all love. It's really, really, really cool. So I appreciate sincerely from the bottom of my heart for anyone ever engaging in our show for as little or as much as you has ever spent time with us. It's very cool.
Yeah, I second that. It's awesome. And even though it sounded like Carver was ending the season, like we said, we still have more episodes throughout the summer. And we will have that big one next week with the season review. So fill out the dang survey, and we will talk with you guys later.